There is a part of the Lady Redstep story that no one dares to speak of. They whisper about her walking through school corridors, haunting dormitories, her red heels clicking like warning drums. But the true tale, her origin, is buried. In silence, before she became the nightmare called Lady Redstep, she was simply a woman named Esinayo. Esinayo lived in a dusty little town in the heart of Kuzani, a place where color and poverty collided. The streets were uneven, the homes were cracked, but Esinayo walked proudly, her red shoes thumping against the earth like a woman determined not to be forgotten. She had one dream, to become a great teacher, one who would light the fire of hope in every child's heart. She got a job at the local government secondary school. The conditions were poor, the pay was a whisper, but she showed up every day, believing in her calling. She poured her soul into her lessons, even as the walls around her crumbled. Her worst challenge came from Senior Class 3, a group of students known across town for their sharp mouths and colder hearts. "Nice clown shoes, Miss Esinayo," shouted Tay, the class rascal, one morning. "Are you trying to teach us or enter a fashion parade?" mocked Femi, slapping his desk as laughter followed. Esinayo clenched her jaw but smiled. Her heart thudded like a cracked drum. "I love my shoes. They're all I have," she replied gently. "In fact, when I die, bury me with them." Her words only made the room explode with laughter. "Good luck finding a coffin wide enough for those," sneered Chisholm, one of the girls. "Every day," they mocked her, laughed at her clothes, gossiped about her voice. She taught through their noise, their insults, their cruelty. Each evening she walked home, staring at the tin roof above her bed, asking the stars if her life would ever get better. But she still held on to hope, that maybe one child would. Listen, maybe one soul would be changed. The only peace she found was in the arms of Mosey, a fellow teacher. Mosey understood her pain. He shared her belief in the power of education. In secret, they would meet in the abandoned garden behind the science lab, holding hands and whispering dreams. "Do you think they know?" he asked once, leaning against a tree. "Let them know," Esinayo whispered, smiling. "This is the only soft thing in this hard life." But their secret would not stay hidden for long. One cursed afternoon, as they shared a kiss beneath the mango tree, Tay and his gang crept up, their phones raised. "Ehen! See what I've found!" Tay shouted. "Miss Esinayo and Mr. Mosey getting busy behind the class." Esinayo gasped and stood quickly. "No, please, don't do this." But the boys only laughed. They had recorded everything. "If you don't want the whole town to see this," Tay hissed, "bring all your savings tomorrow, or your job is finished." Tears gathered in her eyes. "Please, I've worked too hard." "Then pay," said Femi, "or prepare to become famous." That night, Esinayo emptied her small wooden savings box, the one she had hoped to use to escape Kuzani. She gave it all to them, trembling as she watched them smirk and count her future away, but they kept their promise, only for a day. The next morning, a letter summoned her to the principal's office. The room was dim. The air smelled of chalk and stale anger. "Miss Esinayo," the principal began coldly, "your behavior is shameful. You've tarnished this school's name. You are hereby dismissed." "No, I can explain." "Please don't do this," she begged, clutching her bag. The principal waved her off like a fly. "You are no longer welcome here. Leave." As she walked out into the sunlight, everything felt unreal. Her legs moved, but her heart stayed behind. Her dream had died, and it was buried in laughter, gossip, and betrayal. That evening, Esinayo sat by the window of her small home, staring at her red shoes, cracked, faded, but still hers. "It's time to leave this place," she whispered. Under the pale light of the moon, she packed her belongings, wrapped her shoes in cloth, and boarded a rickety night bus heading to the city. Maybe Arunwa would offer her a new beginning. The bus was crowded, full of tired passengers and restless babies. She sat quietly, holding her shoes, praying silently. But fate had other plans. Around midnight, the bus jerked violently. Screams rose. Masked men stormed in, guns raised. Armed robbers, everybody down! One of them barked panic. As Esinayo dropped to the floor, her heart racing, she looked up and froze. One of the robbers, the one waving a machete, was Ikenna, a former student from the same class that ruined her. "Ikenna," she whispered, trembling. "What are you doing here?" He grinned under his mask. "Miss Esinayo, look who's still breathing." "No, please don't. Wrong place, wrong time," he hissed, and then bang! The pain tore through her chest like fire. She dropped to the floor as the world darkened. Her red shoes tumbled from her bag and landed beside her feet. Her last breath was a question. Why? Her body was buried 2 days later. Her mother wept so loudly the village couldn't sleep. She only had one dream, the old woman sobbed. Just one dream, and even that the world took. All she kept from Esinayo was one red shoe. The other had disappeared in the chaos of that night. Back in Kuzani, guilt crept like a ghost. The students who had mocked her whispered with trembling voices. "It's our fault," Chisholm muttered one evening. "We chased her into darkness." Tay and Femi grew pale. They couldn't sleep. "She said she wanted to be buried with her shoes," Femi said nervously. "Maybe she's angry we didn't listen," Chisholm whispered. And then the worst idea entered their hearts. What if we went to her house, took the other shoe, just to, see? That night, they crept through the back door of Mama Esinayo's home. The old woman was asleep. The house was still. They found the shoe, the one Esinayo had loved, the one she wanted to be buried with. Tay picked it up, chuckling nervously. "Let's see what happens now." They slipped away into the night, leaving behind an empty floor where a red shoe once sat like a forgotten promise. But as they walked home, the wind began to whisper. As the boys fled into the shadows with nervous laughter, one of them stumbled, and in the silence, something strange happened. A red shoe flew through the air behind them like it had a mind of its own. "Did you hear that?" whispered Dimeji, his eyes darting behind him. "It's nothing," Kwame hissed, forcing a laugh. "Just the wind." But a heavy unease fell over them like a fog. The day of Esinayo's burial came cloaked in sorrow. Villagers crowded, the muddy path to the graveyard, their clothes dull, their eyes filled with questions. Her mother clutched the red shoe to her chest like a child. Tears flowed freely down her cheeks. "Where's the other shoe?" she wailed, searching the casket in panic. She told me to bury her with both. We couldn't." "Find it," Kwame muttered, eyes to the ground. A strange hush fell over the mourners. Something felt wrong. The coffin was lowered with only one red shoe. As the earth closed over Esinayo's body, the air itself felt angry, and in the realm beyond the living, where spirits floated like smoke, Esinayo's soul rose, surrounded by blinding white. But there was no peace in her. The light around her shimmered, yet her heart was heavy. Her dreams, her dignity, her red shoes, all torn from her. "Please," she whispered to the guardians, ancient beings of transition, "let me return. I must find my other shoe." But the guardians shook their heads slowly. "Your soul cannot rest," they said. "There is unfinished pain. You were taken too soon." Anger boiled within her like a fire that couldn't be quenched. Her sorrow twisted, her spirit darkened, and that night Esinayo became Lady Redstep, a spirit forged from betrayal, fueled by injustice, wearing one red heel, the other stolen. Back in Kuzani, something changed. A strange wind swept across the school courtyard. Dry leaves rustled against locked doors, and then came the clicking. Late at night in the boarding house halls, students began to whisper. "Did you hear that?" asked Zikora, clutching her blanket. "It's nothing. Probably wind," her bunkmate replied. But her voice trembled. The sound grew louder with each passing night, the unmistakable click-clack of heels echoing across the tiles. Lady Redstep had returned. "Remember me." Her voice whispered through the night, soft but filled with sorrow and rage. "I was once your teacher, now I am your punishment." Fear swallowed the school. Some students began to see her in their dreams, her shadowy figure in a red dress, her hair wild, one heel clicking as she approached. Others woke up screaming, drenched in sweat. "We have to do something," whispered Tomiwa, his voice shaking. "Apologize to a ghost?" "Are you mad?" Kwame snapped. But no one could deny it now. The haunting was real. One night, the students gathered in secret. What if we hold a memorial for her?" someone suggested. "Maybe if we show we regret what we did, she'll leave us alone." Desperate and terrified, they agreed. They decorated the courtyard with candles and flowers. They brought pictures of Esinayo, her lesson notes, even her favorite red scarf. Tomiwa stepped forward, his voice cracking. "Today we remember Madame Esinayo, who gave her life to teach us. We failed her." He paused, looking up at the dark sky. "We were cruel, and for that, we are truly sorry." Silence. Then a gust of wind blew through the courtyard. The candles flickered, then died all at once. And then a laugh, soft, mocking, otherworldly. "Did you really think I would forget?" came a voice like smoke. The students froze. The edge of the courtyard, her figure emerged, one red shoe, eyes like burning coal, her dress floating above the ground. "You laughed at my dreams," Lady Redstep whispered, staring directly at Kwame. "You recorded my pain. You fed on my tears." Kwame backed away, trembling. We didn't mean to." "You weren't just foolish. You were wicked," she snarled. "And now you will pay." She lifted her arm, and a chilling wind surged through the air. That night, Tomiwa disappeared. The next day, Dimeji was found unconscious behind the school lab, muttering her name over and over, his eyes wide with terror. One by one, those who had wronged her began to vanish or fall sick. Some woke screaming in the night. Others saw her reflection in mirrors that weren't even facing them. Kuzani Secondary School began to empty. The classrooms grew silent. The laughter of students became whispers of fear. Meanwhile, Kwame and the remaining boys met in secret. "This is not just a ghost," said Ola, his voice thin. "It's judgment. We have to return the shoe," Kwame said. "That's where it all started." Ola stared at him. "You still have it?" Kwame nodded slowly. "I hid it, deep in the forest. I didn't know it would bring this curse. They had no choice." That night they took a lantern and headed into the dark woods, following the path Kwame had walked alone weeks ago. The forest was still, too still. Even the crickets refused to sing. Every twig that snapped underfoot felt like thunder. Every whisper of wind felt like breath on their necks. Kwame led them to the tree where he had buried it, beneath an old log covered in moss. He fell to his knees, digging with bare hands. The soil was cold, wet, and then he touched it. The red heel, dirty and faded, but still pulsing with a strange energy. "We give it back," he whispered. "We never should have taken it." A hush fell over them. The wind picked up, and then, too late. They turned. She was standing there, inches above the ground, her face pale, her eyes glowing like fire beneath water. Kwame stood, holding out the shoe. "Please, we were wrong." Lady Redstep said nothing. She reached out, touched them, "Shoe," and it burst into flame. The fire didn't burn the boys, but it danced around them like a warning. "You disturbed my rest," she said softly. "Now you must carry the weight of my story." And then she vanished into mist. The next morning, the town awoke to find red heel footprints all across the school compound, and on the blackboard in class SS3, someone had written, "Some dreams do not die, they return." Kwame was sure no one could ever find the hiding spot. "I buried it deep," he whispered. "No spirit will trace it." But what if she's watching us? muttered Zamani, his eyes darting to the trees. "Shut up!" Kwame snapped, his breath shaky. "Just help me find the shoe." But the deeper they walked into the forest, the heavier the air became. A strange fog slithered in, clouding their sight, chilling their bones. The trees bent like they were whispering. "Secrets, hold each other," Zamani yelled. "Don't get separated!" But it was too late. The wind shifted. And then came the sound. Click, clack, click, clack. The heel against the dry forest floor. Lady Redstep was near. Kwame stumbled and fell to his knees. "I'm sorry," he cried out, hands raised to the shadows. "I swear, I didn't mean to take it. I'll give it back, and I'll give you anything. Just spare me." But Lady Redstep didn't come for bargains. The red heel stepped into view. Then blood and silence. The next morning, the sun rose over the school compound, but no one smiled. In the boys' hostel, Kwame's bed was untouched. His shoes were still neatly placed, his pillow still warm, but there was no Kwame. By the third day, the truth sank in. Kwame was gone. Gone like the others before him, swallowed by Lady Redstep's vengeance. The silence that followed was loud. The boys sat in their rooms, afraid to even whisper. If Kwame was gone, who would be next, and worse? Kwame was the only one who knew exactly where he'd hidden the red shoe. No one else had seen the spot. No one else had touched the ground. And now it was lost forever. That night, while the town slept, the spirit moved. Lady Redstep glided down the empty streets, her one red heel tapping against the pavement like a slow drumbeat of doom. Her black dress swept the ground, her face pale as ash. The moon cast long shadows as she neared the home of Mosey, the only man who ever loved her. Inside the house, Mosey stirred. His lamp was still on. There was a knock, soft, deliberate. He froze. His hands trembled. That knock, that rhythm. He opened the door slowly. Standing before him was the figure he had buried in his heart. But her beauty had faded, now twisted, with grief and lit by the dim, eerie glow in her eyes. "Esinayo," he gasped, his voice barely a whisper. "It's me, Mosey," she said softly. "I didn't come to hurt you." He stepped back, heart pounding. "Then, why are you here?" "You loved me once," she said. "You were the only one who saw me. I will not harm you, but I need your help." Mosey's knees buckled. "Anything," he croaked. "What do you need?" "The boys," she said, her voice tightening. "The ones who destroyed me. I know they are still hiding. You must tell me where they are." Her glowing eyes fixed on his soul, Mosey collapsed to the floor, sobbing. "Please, I still love you. I don't want you to become this thing." "It's too late," she whispered. "Only vengeance keeps me breathing. Tell me where they are, and I will never return." Mosey wept as he spoke. "They're hiding in the old chapel near the outskirts, inside the cellar beneath the altar." Lady Redstep nodded once, her expression solemn. "You were kind," she said. "I will remember you." And then, like a breath in the wind, she was gone. Later that night, inside the girls' hostel, Ayanfe tossed in her bed. Her bladder throbbed, but fear glued her to the mattress. The sound of heels clicking had haunted her for days now. "I can't hold it," she finally muttered. She sat up, her chest tight with dread. Beside her, Zuena snored softly. "Zuena!" "Wake up," Ayanfe whispered, gently shaking her. Zuena groaned and rubbed her eyes. "What's wrong?" "I need to go pee." "I'm scared to go alone." Zuena sighed. "Fine, let's make it quick. I'm not ready to meet any spirit tonight." They crept down the hallway, hand in hand. The lights flickered overhead. The wooden floor groaned beneath their feet. Just as they neared the restroom, Ayanfe froze. Click, clack. The sound echoed faintly from behind them. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Zuena nodded, her lips pale. "It's probably just a wind." But even she didn't believe her own words. Then from the shadows she appeared, Lady Redstep, her dress floating, her one red heel tapping like a heartbeat, her eyes glowing like fire behind tears. "What are you doing out of bed?" she asked, voice like a cold breeze. Ayanfe choked on her breath. "Please, we just wanted to pee," she stammered. Lady Redstep smiled, a smile that didn't reach. Her eyes, "You should have stayed in bed." Before they could move, she reached out and grabbed Ayanfe's wrist. Her fingers were like cold iron. Ayanfe screamed, trying to pull free, but the spirit's grip tightened. "Mercy, please," Zuwena cried. "Did you show me mercy?" Lady Redstep hissed. Ayanfe screamed once more, and then fell silent. When Zuwena looked up, the corridor was empty. Ayanfe was gone. The next morning her bed was cold, her toothbrush untouched, her schoolbag still hanging on the hook. Zuwena didn't speak for hours. When she did, her voice trembled like a broken flute. She took her. The girls cried. The boys stopped eating. Teachers locked their doors after dark. Kuzani School became a house of ghosts, but not all of them dead. In the abandoned chapel, Tunde, Zamani and Ola hid in the cellar, their faces pale with fear. "We need a plan," Tunde said. "She's coming." "How do we fight a ghost?" Zamani snapped. "We can't even see her coming." Ola stared at the door. "She's not after all of us," he whispered. "Just the ones who laughed at her." "But who didn't?" Tunde murmured. "Back then, we all did." That night, as the wind howled and thunder grumbled above the chapel, the candle in the cellar blew out, and from above they heard it. Click, clack, then silence, then again, click, clack, then the chapel door creaked open. "She's here," Zamani whispered. They huddled together, whispering prayers, but Lady Redstep had already stepped through the door. And this time she did not come to ask. "Let me go," Aduk cried, tears streaming down her face as she struggled in vain. Beside her, Nuru tried to pull her free, but Lady Redstep's eyes glowed like burning coals, and her stare rooted Nuru to the floor. "You, too," the spirit whispered. Her voice was soft, but it shook the walls. With a wave of her hand, she dragged both girls down the hallway, deeper into the darkness. "Please, we didn't do anything," Nuru pleaded, her voice quivering, but Lady Redstep's face twisted into a smile. "It's not about what you did," she hissed. "It's about what you will become." And then came the screams, their cries echoed through the empty halls, and then silence. A silence that would haunt that school forever. In another block of the hostel, Ezekiel sat reading his Bible by candlelight. He didn't believe the stories. He told himself that prayer would shield him from anything, even ghosts. So when his roommate Taju woke up groaning in pain, Ezekiel didn't hesitate. "I need to get you to the infirmary," Ezekiel said, lifting him gently. They made their way down the dark hallway. Cold air brushed past them, and then it came. Click, clack, click. The sound of heels. Taju's face turned ghostly. "Did you hear that?" Ezekiel's mouth went dry, but he straightened his back. "It's nothing," he said. "Just a tale." But his words trembled. Then she appeared. Lady Redstep stepped out of the darkness, her red heels striking the floor like a drumbeat. Her eyes glowed, her dress dragged mist behind it. "Going somewhere?" she asked. Taju collapsed to the floor in fear. But Ezekiel did not run. His legs shook, but he raised his trembling hands and began to pray. "The Lord is my refuge and my strength," he said aloud. "Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." Lady Redstep laughed bitterly. "You think that will work?" But he kept going, his voice rising, his faith unwavering. "Get behind me, evil spirit. I am a child of the Most High." And suddenly she began to fade. Her edges blurred, her body turned to mist. Her laughter warped into a scream as her form melted into the shadows, and then she was gone. Breathing hard, Ezekiel turned to Taju. "We have to tell the others." Prayer works. It's the only thing that can stop her. Back in the hostel, Ezekiel gathered the students. "You all need to pray," he said. "Lady Redstep is real, and she's hunting us." Some laughed, some scoffed. "You think a ghost?" "Umfir's prayer," one boy chuckled. "This is nonsense." But others, those who had seen, who had heard, who had lost friends, joined him. They kneeled in a circle. The air was tight with fear and faith. "I tried to warn them," Ezekiel whispered to himself. "But they mocked her. Now she's come to answer." That afternoon, the students who still had hope gathered in the chapel. It was small and humble, its walls cracked and altar faded, but it felt like their last safe place. Ezekiel stood at the front, leading them in prayer. "Father in heaven, deliver us from the evil walking among us. Cast out this spirit of vengeance. Surround us with your light." But at the back of the chapel, Bashir scoffed. "This is all fairy tale nonsense," he said. "We're wasting time. She's just a story." "If you don't believe," Ezekiel replied calmly, "you're free to leave." Bashir rolled his eyes and turned. "I'll sleep better in my bed than singing songs to the ceiling." A few others followed him, laughing nervously. Outside, the night wind rose. The group of doubters strolled down the dark path, mocking the prayers echoing behind them. But their smiles faded quickly. The wind grew sharp. The trees whispered. And the air dropped ice cold. "I don't like this," one girl whispered. "Something feels wrong." "Relax," Bashir muttered. "It's just in your head." Then came the sound. Click, clack, click, clack, the red heel. Bashir stopped in his tracks. She stepped from the trees. Lady Redstep, tall, pale, eyes burning with hate. "Did you think you could laugh at me and walk away?" she asked, her voice thin as smoke and sharp as knives. "Run!" Bashir shouted, but his legs wouldn't move. Lady Redstep was fast, too fast. One by one she grabbed them. Their screams were swallowed by the wind. She smiled as she took them one after the other. Back in the chapel, Ezekiel continued praying until the chapel door burst open. A boy ran in, panting, his shirt torn. "She's here! She's here! Lady Redstep, I saw her!" Chaos broke out, screams, crying, desperate prayers, but Ezekiel stood tall. "Keep praying," he shouted. "Do not stop!" The students clung to each other. Their voices rose like a tide. "Father, protect us, have mercy on us, deliver us from her hand." Then silence, no wind, no sound. Then click, clack, click, her heels echoed on the outside steps. "You think prayers can stop me?" Her voice whispered through the walls. The windows rattled, but Ezekiel did not flinch. "In the name of Jesus Christ, I bind you. You have no power here." The chapel lights flickered, then silence. Just the scent of fading perfume in the air. Lady Redstep was gone. They were safe. For now, the students stared at Ezekiel in awe. "How did you?" one girl asked, trembling. He shook his head. "It wasn't me," he said softly. "It was faith." In the days that followed, the school changed. No one laughed at prayers anymore. No one mocked Juliet's name, because the ones who had were gone, vanished without trace. The rest? They stayed together. They prayed every day. They walked in groups. They remembered. Ezekiel became a quiet leader, not loud, not proud. But when fear gripped the compound, his voice calmed them. When the wind howled, he reminded them, faith is stronger than fear. But even he knew Lady Redstep was not finished. Some say her red heel still echoes in the night. Some say she still waits by the forest, her one shoe missing. Some say her vengeance will rise again. But one thing is certain. Cruelty has a cost, and those who mock a wounded soul may one day hear. Her steps in the dark, click, clack, click, clack.